Back in June, you might remember, the Hamtramck City Council voted unanimously to approve a law regulating which flags are allowed to fly on government property. According to this law, only American, city, state, prisoner of war, and other national flags are allowed.
Well, now two former members of the Human Relations Commission have filed a federal lawsuit claiming that this law violates multiple other laws and infringes on their right to free speech. The two were fired in July after they raised a pride flag.
Joining us tonight to take a closer look at this lawsuit is Matthew Schneider, former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. Thanks for joining us today, Matthew.
Thank you for having me back.
So if you could start with just a breakdown of what is really at issue with this case and what exactly do the plaintiffs have to prove?
Well, it's certainly about free speech, and a flag is a type of speech. If you think about the different types of flags we have national flags, we have state flags, but we also have flags that are political or about gender specific or other types of things that people hold out as part of their identities. And the issue here really is, whose speech are we talking about? Are we talking about the city's speech and what they think they want to do with the flag? Or are we talking about other individuals' speech? And that's really the core issue here. Before you get to the flag itself, you have to answer, whose speech are we talking about?
Okay, in terms of this resolution, it says, quote, the city of Hamtramck does not allow any religious, ethnic, racial, political, or sexual orientation flags. Do you think that that wording is problematic in any way?
It depends on whose speech they're regulating. Now, if it's the government and the government is saying, we're not going to allow any of these speech type flags, we're not going to allow that, the government can do that. And the Supreme Court has decided unanimously about that. I'll just give you an example. If you go to Washington, D.C. today, or if you go to many other municipalities, even in the state of Michigan, you will see that these governments are flying Ukraine flags to support Ukraine. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires them to also fly a Russian flag. That's because when the government chooses what its speech is, it can pick. It can't prevent other people from speaking, but it can pick how it wants to support or not support any entity or country.
So is this going to come down to just the flagpole, where it is? If they would have opened it up to other types of flags, how do they determine whether this is the people's speech or the government's speech?
That's precisely the issue. If they have decided that these flagpoles are what's called a public forum, where they allow other people to fly flags there, occasionally every couple of years, sometimes cities do that, they open their flagpoles to the community and they can put up whatever flags they want. If you do that, then that's a public forum, you can't restrict their speech. However, if these flags are purely the city's flags, it's really up to the city as to what they do with them or what they choose not to do with them.
Now, that sounds similar to the case in Boston from last year that made it all the way to the Supreme Court. In that case, the justices ruled against the city because it did open up the flagpole to people to put whatever flag they wanted up there. So do you see any similarities between this case that suggest how this one might go?
That's really what the issue here is about that Boston case. In Boston, in front of City Hall, they had 3 flagpoles. They had a state of Massachusetts flag, they had the United States flag, and then they had another flagpole which was open to the community, and maybe 50 times a year people could apply and they could put up whatever flag they wanted. When somebody tried to put up a Christian flag, the city said you can't do that. Well, that's unlawful because you're discriminating based on the content of the flag. So that's the issue here. Whose flagpole was it? Did the city turn these flagpoles over to the people so that they could fly whatever flags they wanted on occasion? Or did they not do that? Did they keep them from themselves? And if they strictly kept them for themselves, then the government can fly whatever flag they want or doesn't want. They can restrict that as well.
So it seems like they have to be very meticulous with how they choose to move forward with this, because it could open the floodgates for a lot of issues depending on the outcome if they don't look at everything pertaining to the law.
Yes, what happens next is this case will go into what's called discovery. All of this background evidence is going to come out. Both sides will be exploring, how has this flagpole been used in the past? Who used it? Was it just the city? Was it other groups? That's all very, very important. It's fact specific. And I think you'll see this U.S. Supreme Court that just came down, this court decision in Boston will have a big play in this because it's the similar kinds of facts. Depends on what happened here.
So does that mean this might be resolved a little bit sooner, or do you expect this to be a lengthy process?
All court cases in the federal system are typically lengthy. So I think we're going to be seeing this going on for months and months, if not even longer.
Any thoughts for you before we let you go just on what the possible outcome could be here?
Look, people always have to be respectful of other people's viewpoints and diversity. Of course, that's something we honor in this country, but we also honor the Constitution and the laws. So this really should be decided not on political views or not how people think about religion or gay pride or whatever. It has to be decided according to the law and the Constitution of the United States and to follow the past decisions of the Supreme Court.
All right. Well, we appreciate your insight today. Matthew Schneider, former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.